since we finished up with the last starship. So I'm going to pick up where we left off. Some beavers may die for this. Is the name of our colony. I forgot about that. Which, for the record, we have only had beavers die of old age so far. It got really, really tenuous a good number of times. There was definitely a number of times where we're like out of food and everyone's starving, but no one actually did the die from it. They just got really, really sad. Alright, to catch where we left off. Okay, so apparently in the middle of a drought. Basically, we've got this little pocket of not misery in the middle here. And we're working on trying to get this set up where I can keep all of this fresh water for the most part. And little by little, I'm sealing these areas up here where you see these like bad water drains and all that are awful. We're basically corking them up. I'm building this big structure over it and just sealing it in the wall and pretending it's all fine. Just remember, there's nothing more permanent than a temporary solution. Yep. They just got emotionally scarred. Got it. Yeah, now we're on the same page. But yeah, so we just got to get to the other one. This is going to be a pretty rough drought, unfortunately. I hadn't been paying attention that this got drained out because it got all blocked off from the bad water. Because we do have it set up when this gets flushed out of bad water, this will get all filled up. But in the meantime, do I already have you queued up? I think I do have you queued up. Yeah, so this is queued up to get it sealed off as well. So we're basically trying to get the bad water areas under control. And all that. Because the way this maps, this is Spillage. The way this map works is as you're going along, there'll be stuff like right here. This is a little pocket of water that there wasn't bad water at the beginning, but eventually it shows up. But there was like a wall here, but there was a bomb on top of the wall. And so it blows up the wall, and if you don't get ahead of it, it just dumps it in where you start. And so this map is a lot around managing where that keeps escalating. We're at the point there's no more escalation to be made from that front. We still have the regular difficulty stuff where as time goes on, the droughts and bad waters get longer. Right, and I've got that queued up to continue deepening our reservoir. Doing more explosions. Yeah, so like this is a little reservoir, we punch through there. There's a bad water seep down here, but I'm keeping enough water over top of it that we don't get hardly any bad water out of it. Alright, so we're going to have to just fast forward this. I'm honestly surprised that so many of them are dehydrated, considering I've got water everywhere. Just taking their time to actually get the water. But yeah, for those not familiar with Timberborn, it is a survival city builder. So you've got, like, they need water, they need food. Shelter is technically not required, but that makes them happier and they work harder when they're happier. But it's basically you need food, you need water. Now, the big difference is where normally in these kind of games, you've got spring, summer, fall, you prep, and then you try and survive the winter, and you repeat. This one, you've got your normal weather, your drought, and your bad water. And all of that has to do with water. That water in this game is everything. You can only grow near water. You can only, you can't get, to get like water for your people to survive, you need clean water. And you'll notice most of the map is barren and dry, or it's got this gross red water that kills people. And so much about it is like, okay, well, here's some good water. Let me levy that off so I can get to be much deeper so it doesn't just evaporate away during a drought. Okay, well, my population's going up. I need to have more water. And we have actually a moderate population. I'm going to say we have a relatively small population, but we actually do have a bit over 60 beavers. And I need to build more homes. Oh, we are building more homes. But this is also a game where you tend to get like grand scale projects where you'd be like, I'm working on this, and it's just a massive undertaking project to, make a giant reservoir over here or an aqueduct system to open up more terrain. Because what we ultimately want to do is continue to expand where we get more farmland, more growing space, and I gotta get my water in better places to do that. And one thing I want to do is these areas here, where we've got the Badwater seeps, I want to take some of them and put levees right around it, so it'll only be those 4 tiles. So we can slowly clean this place up. Yes, that's all capped off. You're getting pretty close. Alright, so we got one more day until this goes away. We're unfortunately getting very close to this drying out completely. And all these little flags here, that's where we're going to be putting dynamite to explode this deeper. Okay. And unfortunately, a bunch of our crops died up here because we ended up getting Badwater flushed through here because I hadn't noticed that there was Badwater things up here. It's fixed now, but now I need to start getting the fresh water through to kind of like, you know, dilute it and push it out the other side, because this opens up here to dump down to that area, but that'll only be a solution once we get enough water back into the system. Because when you have clean water, it'll go straight on through. When we have bad water, it'll get dumped out the side. Yep, so this will start building up water pressure. It looks like there's just enough here that'll get a little bad water out. That is what it is. Right, that was another project that we were going to work on, is for the Badwater event, I want to blast a tunnel here. They'll have a sluice that when it detects bad water, it'll just dump it off the side of the map. But when it's good water, it'll just let it through. Alright, so we got just a bit of bad water in there. That'll be alright. Because now we've also got our little water seep up here. As you can see, this doesn't give me much water to work with. But that's fine. So let's turn on all of our pumps again. So that way we go back to filling up our water storage and whatnot. Okay, I've got an obnoxious amount of research. Let's see here. We get the Flame of Unity, which is another one of the monument things. And those end up making the beavers happy. If we look down here, they'll be... Yeah, so you have all the different monuments. But as we get our beavers to be happier and happier, they'll move faster, they'll work harder, they'll live longer. Blocked by Badwater. Oh yeah, that's fair. What do you mean they don't want to swim in toxic water? Where's your sense of adventure? Yeah, and we're working on getting it where we can get the sap and all that, so we can get the last of the materials in the game to be available. And then we'll be able to make everything we want to make. Yeah, so all that's filling in and doing a nice job. Once this fills into the point where it gets over to the top of those, yep, it starts spilling in here. And with that spilling in here, it's going to start flushing this bad water out, where it's going to fill it up to run it out this side. It'll take a little while to flush that out. That's a lot of bad water. But it's getting done. And that's what matters. Because we just need to flush it enough that we can start getting good water through here. Because then that'll fill this in. And it looks like they're starting to make the ramp down to set up all the explosives to blast deeper. A couple of beavers are eventually going to have to practically sacrifice themselves to get this bad water seep done. Because we'll cap that off and make this into a big usable area as well. Because once I cap that off, then I'll be able to turn around here and get rid of that, and that'll just be another place that the good water goes. And then all this will become viable growing area. Alright. Yep, you can see where it's getting a little bit bluer over here. It's still pretty red over there. It's just going to take time. Alright, and we're starting to pack the dynamite down there as well. Yeah, I'll need to deal with that soon. Yeah, it's kind of one of those things that you always got more to be done, so just work on it. And we have the exact correct number of beavers for the work out there. It looks like somebody dumped red 40 into our water. Oh no. Yeah, so as you can see now, all the bad water is getting pushed out the other side. We'll just slowly get that sorted. Pretty soon I'm going to have to move my my metal works away from here. That there's almost no more metal nearby. Which is fine, I've got plenty of metal that's well in reach. Got metal there, metal here and here. Metal over there, metal up here. Yeah, so you can kind of see, like, it's around here is where you start seeing the Badwater. The Badwater has kind of this weird spider webby shimmer thing kind of going on. It is cool that apparently the water is clean enough now that they've replanted all of this. Another thing we should probably work on is under the terraforming, we've got the dirt excavator, which is a high risk of injury. So when we have 2,000 again, I'm going to go over to one of these spots like up here, and we're just going to chunk down the earth excavator and just let it go, because that'll let us get terrain blocks. And that's where you can kind of slowly, where this map is like all over the place, and be like, you know, this area here, you know what? Let's make this all flat and usable for farming. Like make little irrigation canals and all that. Just kind of bury everything in. It's a very slow process, but that's kind of part of the fun of the game is you start out with a map that is an absolute disaster and you slowly make it into this paradise. And then meanwhile, all that's going on, as I mentioned before, the droughts get longer, the bad water gets longer, the time that you're not in those things gets shorter. So you end up having to do a lot of managing of your resources. It's honestly, that wouldn't be a bad thing, is to go over here. There is blocks for containing stuff. These irrigation barriers. Take the time to put irrigation barriers around here. Did you die? Oh no, we beat the game. But we can go here, put the irrigation barriers around here, and make all of that dirt, and then all of this become viable growing area. Yep. Yeah, no, the entire playthrough the last Starship, I think it said it took us 13 hours or 16 hours. Yeah, keep in mind we were just beelining the main story. Like that's the same with like if you play any of the X series, if you just literally point yourself at the main story and go, you know, you can knock it out in no time at all. Heck, that's even true of games like Starfield. Even games like Starfield, if you're like, I'm going to ignore everything that isn't the main story and just go for it, you can get through it relatively quick. Same with like Fallout. If you're only worried about the story quests, you can blast through those games in, you know, usually like in the teens of hours, not with, and that's ignoring like speedrunning strats and everything like that. That's just a normal, my next objective's here, go straight to it. You've been lurking around and messing with things? Yeah, now if you take your time to like experiment, figure out, do all that stuff, then it'll be a lot better, or it'll go a lot longer. Alright, so it's getting pretty close. Now, unfortunately, we have very poor water flow here, because, as you can see, it's kind of in a little cubby. But we're getting the most of the bad water out of here. Yeah, it's almost at the point where it's going to start dumping that through. You enjoy the ship design? Oh yeah, no, I very much enjoy it. I'm not saying I'm done playing the game forever, but very, very genuinely, it was like, cool. Alright, so the containment got low enough that we're filling up our reservoir. And I do have, if any meaningful amount of bad water does get in here, I do have bad water pumps to remove bad water from this area. Yeah, where this opened, it actually lowered the water level because of how much I had to fill in here. Alright. And thank you, Willieson, for the 95 stream streak. Catch the last 95 streams without missing a single one, so I do appreciate that. Thank you so much for that. Okay, so I'm gonna let them get that done. How is this going up here? Okay, so you're still working on getting that done. We do have all those materials, it's just another project being worked on. We need to get all those trees removed. I also want to get that geothermal pulled. There's not many other geothermals nearby that are easy to get at. That's the next closest one. I could see putting the drill over there. Just put the drill right here and just let it dig down forever and keep giving me dirt blocks. That way we can slowly go through and fill this area in. Not just need wood to block everything, we can just kind of work our way through. Start blocking in these bad waters as best we can. Alright, the swimming pool is available. Now, down says I really cannot see well where they have and have not put down the dynamite. We can worry about that when we get there. Actually, I probably can by just... Alright, let's check. That looks fully planted. So with that, it is time for deep underwater boomies. Yep, so now we're going to drain way more water in there because I just made this way deeper in that area. I could take that building apart because it's not needed. And then we're going to blast this area. We're going to get all level, and I'll probably end up blasting it way deeper, but... I'm basically just making the overall capacity of the reservoir way bigger by just deepening the whole thing. Alright. And then this area will be another growable space we can use. And I'm waiting for them to clear this area up too. I need them to finish capping off those two as well. A lot of projects to do. We can unpause you. You can find some spare people that can start pumping all this up again. Yeah, the big question will be how I want to actually handle the map so far as, like, filling things in and whatnot. There's a lot of projects to go there. Yeah, so I go to put a geothermal here. I wonder if that runs underwater. I imagine it doesn't. So I'll end up needing to do this. Go over here and make a platform leading out to it. We'll get that walled off. It'll start to evaporate, and then we can worry about what mechanical thing is going to go over there. I'm leaning towards getting the thing that drills up the earth. Let's make sure we have everything. No, we don't have everything. So I need you. And then with that, I'll have everything I need for the production of this stuff. I'm going to go ahead and put it... I'd like to put it over here, because that makes the most sense so far as just having it somewhere we can get at. So yoink up all the trees here. Because then we get the treated wood, and that'll unlock a lot more things we can make. And they're finishing capping off this Badwater drain. And after that, they'll run over here, and we'll start getting this one capped off. And I believe that's the last of the drains there, which means with that, getting the sluices up here to not let Badwater through, and then getting that will mean I'll have control of this entire river that will be just good water. I won't need to worry about Badwater contaminating it anymore. Not unless I do something where I actually breach a wall and contaminate it myself. Drought is approaching again. Drought is no big deal. We're in amazing shape for a drought. And as you can see, all of this area is now green that I could continue to expand our farms and all that. We'll want to do that eventually. I'm not too fussed about that right now. That's interesting that that stopped flowing. Okay, and blocked by Badwater. Yeah, so a little bit of Badwater did get in here. But we're pulling it here, it'll stop having the Badwater there. Okay, so that one's all capped off. We no longer have to worry about Badwater coming from there. And they're getting the sluices built up here, where they'll close if the Badwater is over a certain percent. And once they knock this tree down, they'll be able to start in the last cap for the last Badwater. If everything goes well, that should be the next thing they prioritize is this area up here. That and that being done is what gives me control that I don't have to worry about Badwater from that route anymore. And then we can start going to the different areas that are problems and just slowly expanding, making use of more and more of the map. We can continue to like fill in and dynamite and do stuff to any of the areas we want. It's also interesting to me because normally I'll end up using tons and tons of water wheels and all that, but since they added the geothermal stuff, it is kind of one of those things where you can be like, eh, it's fine. Oh, you actually have spare power. I was not anticipating you actually having power to spare. I figured you're going to be completely tapped. In that case... That'll give me my processed wood. Okay, they're starting to get the dynamite in place for up there. The sluices are starting to get done. Okay. So we should have this already go. Yep. So it's time for another set of explosions. Cool. So get rid of that. Okay, so I probably want to just flatten this out for now, not do anything fancy. So I can go here, and just one deep TNT. And then the same here. Oh. Cancel that. I need those to be 2 tiles deep to level it out. Then that'll be 1 tile deep. What I can do here is we'll get rid of that. I'll put the staircase here. Alright, so with that, that'll have that reservoir all balanced out. So we hit drought again. So you'll see all these dry up relatively quickly. Again, the sluice done. Alright, next thing, we want to blast those. Okay, so what I want to do here is we want some sluice way at the bottom there. That we want these to close if the contamination is below 5%. So basically, if it's not polluted, close it up. If it is polluted, open it up and dump it out the side. So with that, what I need to do is go up here, cut down those trees. I don't anticipate needing to have those levees there, but we're going to use it so we can walk in that. Because of that, we can start handling a bunch of this. Okay, so that's no longer... Hey! New high score for how healthy our people are. 20. Oh, I don't have gatherers, do I? Right. What you do here... Let's get rid of those. I'll put a little path here, and I'll put 2 gathering tents here. Let's also go ahead and so these actually get done someday. Assign those as a high priority. We're still waiting on those trees. We're still waiting there. That's all done. What are you working on, builders? Because we got plenty of projects up there. You have the one building to build here. Ah, they're working on the one building there. That's fair. Right, I don't have much in the way of spare planks. Because they're making gears and all sorts of nonsense and I'm using it all, which is fine. Okay, sorry about that. So, now the beauty is, with this, I don't have to panic about the droughts anymore. Because I've got this whole reservoir the entire way up. That it'll keep draining into this tile until the whole thing goes down more. And I can make it even higher by, like, if I block off this area, I can add sluices that are like, hey, if the water's below this amount, let it through. And, you know, you kind of inch it forward there and inch it forward there. None of that's necessary. I've got so much water here that it's just not needed. That's the reason we took the time to get this thing set up. We're not limitlessly drought hardened, but we can endure some pretty nasty droughts before it's going to actually be something I have to worry about. Okay, so with this, we want to go here. And I will need to have over here a pair of gatherers. They're working over there. Let's add a couple more things onto the priority, because it looks like they're working on our stuff. Let's clear all those areas. And it's fine for me that they're working on that, because I do want that. So I can start drilling dirt and doing the slow terraform of the map beyond that. Okay, so that opens up that, so I can hopefully get that done before the next Badwater. Alright, so now with that getting done, we want to go over here with the terraform, get the deepest dynamite, get that set up there. In the meantime, I need them to be able to get over here to where they can build those sluices. They'll take care of that. Because that'll be our way of handling the good and bad water up there. Okay. So we're at the really high science again. So then the plan here was to get the big drill. And so the plan of the big drill is to basically put it someplace like here. But basically put it over here somewhere and just let the drill drill. It does make a pretty big hole wherever we use it, but that's fine. And I can technically use it like in the middle of the water, anything like that is fine. Actually, oh, that actually might be a good spot for it. So, we'll find out if this thing can work while waterlogged. Because if it can, I can potentially just shove... Well, actually, we could probably just replace this block. Make that a platform. And then we can go here for the mechanical power and tuck it on underneath there. And that should give me a viable spot to have it just drill down, pull up dirt. Let's make sure I'm not making a big mistake. So it's going to be placed right there. So I want to make sure if we drill down here, we do not see any canals for Badwater. Alright, cool. I was going to make sure there wasn't... There's a couple of places where I have like these Badwater aqueducts going underneath the map. So like if you look here, there's one that's like right there, and there's one over there. I didn't make these, they're just already on the map. There's one over here. This is actually one as well as that. This map has lots of those buried down there. You get writing a reaction to anything? It's long gone time, chat, to manage to write it. Oh yeah, that happens. But yeah, so with us pumping water, we did lower it a little over 1 block down. But that's with everything just going the whole time without any delay on anything, which is perfect. Yep, and they're getting this all built. Okay. So the next time we have a long drought, I'm going to try and get down here, tear up these brambles, and surround this with the walls that I can't get through, which is 400. Yeah, we'll just buy that now. Stop soil irrigation and contamination from spreading beneath it. Yeah, we'll go and try and get that sealed off. So next thing we need is 1,000 there. Just a whole lot of projects. Okay, so it needs the water to be deeper. That's totally fine. We did just get out of drought. That surprises no one that the water's not as deep as we'd like it. We're honestly getting low on Badwater, which is fine. We're using that to make the dynamite. Yes, this is the immediate project, is sealing this off. Which they'll get there. I'm not rushing it too much because we don't have a lot of spare planks. Where is our... Oh, this is still not done yet. Right, because it's waiting on planks. Let's bump that up in the priority to get that built. And it won't be too much longer before it'll be worth it for me to make our population go up a bit more. The other thing I should consider is what other foods have we not made yet? So we don't have the algae, and that would require the algae and the process or the food factory. We also don't have the coffee brewer, and we do have coffee growing. So let's get the coffee brewery next. Okay. So we're waiting on all that stuff to get done. I've already got too many projects queued up. They got builders running everywhere. They got something like 8 or 10 builders. And I would add more, but like, you can see our planks here are not surviving. Okay. But once we get that, it might be worth me making a couple of like effectively water retainment areas. So using the sluices to strategically cap these off at whatever the highest elevation is up here. So it can keep trickling down the whole way. It's always tricky to decide, like, when you're going with a macro scale and you're like, okay, we're gonna, you know, perfect this world. Okay, you've got this area. How do I make this as usable as possible? You know, have your little canals through everything. Kind of bury the water supplies you're not going to use. Put that as very high priority, because then we can go... There's that done. So now I can get the piece I'm going to cap this off with. And then we get where we can make it so water can't go through it. Alright. The water's still filling back up in the whole system, which is part of the reason we'd potentially make the locks up here. Because that's what this is. This is effectively one of our locks. So what I could do at this stage is this tells me it's 1.71 tiles deep below it. And what we would do is once it gets up to that point where it starts bubbling over, I would want to set this so that it doesn't let water through if it's reaching that point where it gets to spill over there. That way the water could just kind of sit here and it'll add water as needed. That'll let this start backing up. Then we can go and wall this off, put some sluices over here for like when it's polluted to dump it out, just in case we ever get a contamination event where something happens, spills over, mistakes are made. Okay, and you're working on all that. Okay, new wellness high score, 21. Yeah, we got people with injuries and all that, which is pretty much forever. And that'll be new food. Wellness score 22 as a new record. And a lot of that's just because we're getting more and more food options. Plus these statues here. Like, these give a big bonus of awe within the entire area, and since everyone lives in this little area, that's the reason I have this one square I'm putting all of the awe statues in, so anyone walking through there immediately gets a massive bonus. Okay, where would I want... And a wellness score 23 and a wellness score 24. Alright, so those two things have jumped our wellness up 4 points. Another big thing is we're finally going to be getting the food from here. That we're getting our soybeans, and those are starting to be processed into fermented soybeans. We got our corn, which is becoming stuff. We're going to start growing coffee. Like, we're growing it. We're going to start actually having coffee available for people. Yeah, you need the treated wood. We've got the thing treating wood now. Probably need a second building making the planks is one thing I need. Wellness 25. All right. And the reason that's so important is if we look at our scores over here. So we got one of these people at Wellness 26. By hitting Wellness 25, they now work twice as fast. At Wellness 22, they move 30% faster. And at Wellness 17, they live 40% longer. So you get the idea there of just... Wellness is huge. Like, people working twice as fast and getting there in, like, 1.5... Like, you know, 50% quicker and all that kind of garbage. It means the same amount of work gets done with that many fewer people. I wonder if we're going to get that done in time for the next Badwater. We're due for a Badwater. Not that I have any knowledge like, oh, it's N number of days between Badwaters or anything like that. You know, it's just one of those things where it's been a while since you've had a Badwater. You're like, okay. I just feel it in my bones. The Badwater's coming. Are you gonna get that water down there? It takes so long to refill all this. Yeah, we'll start filling this in to act as a reservoir of its own. So we hopefully aren't bleeding down nearly as much. Okay. And like I said, the next if we have a Badwater next, we just keep working on our projects. If we have a drought, I'm gonna make it a priority to drop down in here and basically plug this thing up. And that way we can put this whole area to use. And that could actually be one... Nope. Flood a building, experimental branch only. A building has been flooded. Oh, that's fine. Yeah, so that answers the question about that. I already mentioned that as expecting to potentially have problems with that. That's just going to be flooded. It just means it won't work until we get this other part taken care of. Let's go ahead and bump up the priority on building these real quick. So we can start collecting the coffee beans when the coffee building is ready. I've almost got 1,000 research. Did I actually build those? I know we planned to. Yeah, I was going to build them here, and then we stopped because we didn't have the treated wood, and I have the treated wood now. And those two take horsepower. And that takes horsepower. So it might be something like over here we hook up a bunch of entertainment stuff. It wouldn't be convenient or near. We're going to have to get the horsepower down here. And the way we'll end up doing that is areas like this, for example. I can narrow that into being a flow through like aqueduct, and we can put a bunch of water wheels on it. And that can become a whole thing. One of the other things we can work on to improve a lot of the moods is start getting these aesthetic tiles. Because the aesthetic tiles boost moods as well. Because that's usually one of the things I start to do when I get a surplus of that, is I'll go along the paths and I'll put the roofs on top of them, because that means you'll get at least one aesthetic pretty much everywhere in your main square. Honestly, probably should do that. Alright, let's grab you. So what I can do here... or at least this area. Oh, I forgot there's those tubeways in this one. Those can be useful for reaching a bunch of the different parts of the map, but I've still not been particularly good about using them. Yeah, so that's the main square. So we're going to add that there, but then what happened? Alright, so bad tide is approaching. How close are you? Ah, you're not going to be done in time. So there's 3 days till the bad tide. And they would need to get this last area all capped off. So this is all going to get contaminated. I'm not going to be able to prevent it, unfortunately. But we'll just have to endure. Let's go ahead real fast. Those sluices are top priority. And then after that, that's your highest priority. So work on those two projects. Oh, and your top priority. That way we can potentially get this handled. Then get the 2 sluices built there. We can get rid of this so I don't have to worry about my beavers going down into the toxic water. Alright, so for right now, we can turn that off. We got plenty of bad water set aside. And we can get our different tail styles. We'll get that one, and that one. That's just something you can do with the materials you get from Badwater. Basically tattoo their beaver tails. Okay, so we've got those built. So with that in mind... How did you get those built? Alright, so those built. We're gonna go ahead and get rid of this. That way when this becomes Badwater, no one can get into it. We've got those sluices there. If I can get enough dynamite to blast that whole length out of there, we can dump the Badwater off the side of the map. It still won't fix this problem. And I don't, like, there's not a reality that this gets fixed in time. Even if I were to max out their work schedule, that's a good couple days out from being done. That's okay, they can keep working on it. Yeah, and you see how this is flowing all over here? That's all stuff we want to manage. Okay, so with you flowing over, that is a depth of 2.67. So close this if it is above 2.65. So that should close. Okay, 2.6. So it should close anytime that this is streaming through. Because I don't need the water flow, I just need water in there. This will allow this to keep backing up. And then we can check to see where it fills up. And then, you know, build another block up here. Alright, so there's the bad tide. Needless to say, we did not get that done in time. But that's okay. Because this, my water source is deep enough. Hey, new record on wellness. I'm not sure what changed that went up higher, but you know, that's cool. Probably another food option finally got grown in. Yes, unfortunately, that does mean all these plants are going to die again. Oh, I don't have storage for coffee beans, so they're just standing around because they don't have someplace to put them. Sure. So we can store the coffee beans. The coffee itself doesn't go here. So we can go over here. Get a big container. And you're where the coffee goes. Yeah, so as you can see, it's fully contaminated. But we do have this that prevents the polluted water from going through. So this will stay clean. I'm also observing there is a river that goes through here from there. But yeah, so the whole map basically becomes covered in bad tide. Every bad tide because of the whole way this is set up. Okay, so getting all that done. I do not want to do any dynamite stuff down here until after the bad tide's done. I don't lower my water level early. Actually, take it back. These plants will probably be fine as long... Yeah, these plants should all be fine. I shouldn't have to worry about it. Yeah, and you're so close to having that done. I'm a little concerned that while the bad tide's going on, they're going to seal that off. And then there's going to be just a mess. Okay. The long bad tide, too. It's like 5-6 days. Almost there. Because then we can blast that whole path and it'll drain all the bad tide water out that way. Which will make it so I can prevent this from getting grossed in the future. In the meantime, this area looks like it's going to stay lush and green always. This would be another good place for getting more food. That said, I don't have much food that we plant in the ground that I particularly have need of. We have the eggplant. I'm not growing the eggplant. Yes, I'd probably want to do here is I'd want to fill this area in with dirt to take advantage of that. We can put like a big eggplant farm area around there. Because pretty soon I'm going to have the drill set up. And we can start drilling down there. Get our dirt, fill that in. Speaking of which, there's the thing that lets me fill this in. Okay. I'm planning to fill all this in. Okay, we need to remove all these trees. But that'll wait till after Bad Tide stuff's done, because that's a massive project. But not a priority project on any version of the word priority. Okay, so still 2 days. I just need 2 more bombs up here. We already have the materials there. The person just needs to craft. And then this whole thing's blasted out that way. Alright, 1 more bomb there, and then we can just flush this all out the side of the map. We've almost got that closed off. And that is just about to run out of metal. And then I'll figure out the next best place for me to go for more metal. Like I said, there's metal kind of everywhere around. Alright, so with that, it's time for the Bad Tide. To have a fast travel right off the edge of the map. Yep, so now when it's bad tide, we'll drain it out this way. When it's good water, we drain it out that way. Now, one thing that's probably going to be an issue is I'm probably going to need to widen this up to give it more throughput. Because otherwise we can get in a situation where this side has good water, that side has bad water, and neither can get to the other one's ducks and all that. But the wider you make the path, the less likely you run into that. Alright, well, we'll definitely have that capped off for the next one. Okay, for my next source of metal, we got relatively easy access to that. We got relatively easy access to that. I think we'll do that one. It's not as big, but it's right there. Okay, and we can go over here to metalworking. Hey, Selford Cell! Thank you so much for the raid. How goes the stream and all that stuff? Can we get a shout out for Selford Cell? Another fantastic content creator. Also plays a whole lot of Timberborn among stuff like Oxygen, not including a bunch of that kind of stuff. Also playing some Timberborn. Also going for the achievements. Yeah, Selford Cell has been doing that. I was like, oh yeah, I really want to go and get the achievements now that they're finally in. But yeah, so we've been having a good one, all that stuff. But again, check out Selford Cell. Plays a lot of similar games to what we play here. But plenty of games like Timberborn, Oxygen not included, all these kind of style games. Mind Over Magic, all that kind of stuff. The achievements are fun? Yeah. You get to get the dopamine sounds. But yeah, so definitely check them out. Which of course means all the inverse stuff of that is true as well. That if you like the content there, you probably will like it over here. But yeah, so at the moment we're getting ready to start managing the Badwater properly. We're playing on the Spillage map, which has nothing but these seeps instead of normal water resources. And it's a whole thing. Alright, Galactic, you have a good one. But yeah, so we're doing a pretty good job. We've kind of stabilized, and now we're just in the phase of, like, going and getting all the Badwater managed, all that kind of stuff. The seeps are quite tough. Yeah, no, I'm learning that, like, we just get to the seep that's at the highest, and that's our water source long-term. That's our long-term water source. That's just what we're dealing with. We did some experimentation, and I didn't like the results of a lot of it. And it's been working now that we finally got that set up pretty well. I still got more stuff to work on a lot here. These drains suck. The bad tide drains, those suck. I've been just capping them off to deal with them. Just box them away inside the wall, and they don't exist anymore. They're make-believe. They can't hurt us. Hey, Azrael, how's it going? But yeah, so immediate projects I've got going on is we have just routed it so I can dump Badwater off the side of the map. I should probably do another one over here since there's that Badwater seep over here after a long drought or a Badwater event. On man, how's things doing? Doing pretty good here. But we can go ahead and route some of this to, because like you have the issue I have right here. Check out Azrael as well, another fantastic content creator. Plays a lot of simulation games, so your Farming Simulator, American Truck Simulator, Roadcraft, that kind of thing. So if you're looking for that, you can find it over there. Yeah, so I need to get the seeps newish? Yes. Seeps are pretty new. So we're going to go ahead and widen this to help a little bit with the water flow. I think we get another area that we can get the Badwater off the side for now. Because, right, like I mentioned this actually earlier, that you can run into the problem where my way to get rid of Badwater is over here. But at the same time, we got that. So what I'm going to do for right now as a solution is just going to let the Badwater just blast right out of here. This is already contaminated because I didn't get a chance to cover the drain. So, you know, water that's pretty much pure Badwater, I can't exactly make it worse. So I'm going to let that pass through, and then hopefully we get this resolved by next time, so that that's a little bit more handled. Okay. So now I can set that back, and that'll flush all this Badwater out, so we can start funding fueling like our reservoir and all that again. I do want to make a set of locks up here so that we keep the water level higher, so we can slowly bleed the water down as I need it. Just to give us a lot longer between when a drought starts and when I actually have to care about it. Yeah, so definitely by the next Badwater, that's going to be completely sealed off. We'll probably be able to get this cleared up. Oh, I missed that there's a staircase here. That's fine. So we can get rid of that. Then you'll get the other one up here. We're doing pretty good on science. I'm honestly at that stage of probably just unlocking things for the sake of unlocking things. I still need to get tubes going. I haven't bothered. And I probably should be. I also haven't gone to large... Let's get these large warehouses. I have no excuse of not having these anymore. You get the large barracks with the doors on the second floor. Oh, we can also get these. Yeah, we should start switching our breeding pods over. Because we can get the breeding pods where they just start as an adult right away. So I'm going to get rid of one of these breeding pods. And get the better breeding pod, and we're going to make that a high priority. We're just going to skip childhood. It just gets in the way. Alright, so we're slowly flushing this out. What you don't see is there's actually, down below here, there's a lot of hidden like aqueducts down on this map, and they're almost all Badwater. So like we go down here, there's a hidden aqueduct here that then bubbles up on this side. And I've got it set whenever the water's polluted to just pump it over there. During a bad tide, the water here gets to have a higher throughput than I've really ever seen outside of doing like the two, like where you put a bunch of water and you narrow it into two wide to get your water wheels turning. But like naturally occurring on the map, there's some places on this map that water hustles. Skip childhood, straight to the mines. Exactly. Alright. And that's just about capped off. And that should have our Badwater under control here. We're also working on getting our big drill thing going on over here. So I can start grabbing lots and lots of dirt. I'm going to start filling in tons of areas to give myself more usable land. The next time we have a long drought, I'm going to go and tear this up so I can kind of cap that thing off. When I say cap it off, I'm just going to put a box around it. As the weirdo you are, you remembered a topic brought up last time you watched Sal's Timberborn stream, which was the fact that liquids can mix is underutilized. Yeah, I mean, right now, there's really just Badwater and good water about the only thing there. Sure, we've got a lot of stuff like this. I've never gone and tried to do, like, get the thing where you dump, like, liquids and try and dump things that aren't water. I don't know if you can even do that. But there could definitely be room for being able to take, like, a Badwater area like this and have the ability to, like, dump the antidote extract or whatever in there and, like, treat it. I could see some cool things they could do interaction-wise there. There's definitely opportunity. Yeah, it's almost done. Okay. So we've got this lock ready. So let's plan for the next one. So we'll do here next. Because I want it to be... Even though this probably should just be a dam, we can make it a sluice and set it to have a height to it. No, I changed my mind. That's gonna be a dam here. And the reason for that is that's gonna kind of be the high point I can practically set up here. And the plan here is to allow this water to get to that elevation. Because we can get to this elevation, that makes this into another big area we can hold a bunch of water back. And then we'd probably do the next one kind of up here somewhere. The first thought you had was there is no reason for the sleuth to discern contamination between 10 to 90%. Everyone always makes it one of those extremes. And your second thought was imagining sources that could come out pre-mixed instead of having it one or the other. Yeah, there's definitely stuff like that. It's kind of like one of the updates with Project Zomboid they made it so you can mix a bunch of liquids. Like, okay, that's cool on paper, but in practice, I either want like fresh water, I'm mixing a very specific equation to like use the bleach to make water fresh, or I'm not mixing. And so it's definitely one of those things that they have an overcomplicated UI for it, where it is exactly like kind of what you're saying is for like the sluices. You've got 2 or 3 obvious settings you're going to do, and you're never, like, instead of being by percent, you could see this being like, you know, just a Boolean, is contaminated, not contaminated, and contaminated defining as like 5 or 10%, or have like a 3-way toggle. So like no contamination, mild contamination, contaminated. And there's also not going to be a case where you have it set for both of these. You can do one or the other. It's fine. Alright, so that's all capped off. So I got all the bad water handled over there. So until we have the next drought, and my target for the next drought is this one here. We're going to run down there, tear ourselves up on those bushes. We're going to try and box it in. So it'll just be these 4 tiles of bad water. Actually, probably make it 6 tiles of bad water just so I can get the bad water deep pump on one of it. And then we can start filling all that in. Start getting ourselves like little places for the water to run through to make all this into usable things. Like, we're doing really good on our food. Like, the only food that'd be a thing. You could drain that to the south with some explosives at the gate. Yeah, I mean, well, the thing is there's a water source here. So draining it doesn't really do a lot for me. I could also just pick that up if the water got deep enough to cover it, but as you can see, it doesn't stay deep enough to do that reliably. I want to just box this off. Once I box it off, we can just take this down and let water soak in there. It would empty out the moment the drought started? Yeah. No, I see what you're saying. Yeah. I'm not super worried about that part too much yet. But yeah, no, I could do that. Like, if I didn't have another project I was working on, I think that would be reasonable to work on that. Right now, what I want to get this widened, potentially get an area to dump bad water out the side. Don't they have pumps now that pump and dry during drought? They do have mechanical pumps that I can, like, pump stuff from one side to the other. Does he wish the game simulated temperature? It would create an incentive to mix liquids to prevent them from freezing. I could see something like that. So, making it so it's 5% bad water massively lowers or massively increases the freezing temperature. Or lowers it. Makes it harder to freeze. So you'd actually have a reason to have a reservoir with a mild amount of contamination. You know, low enough it's safe. Takes so long to fill that. Nice warm radioactive water. Mildly radioactive. Non-ionizing radiation. It's fine. Yeah, or exactly. Like Enoch saying that there's hot springs, so we could have like a water source that is just like a normal water source comes out at relatively cool temperature. Or then you might have a hot spring that comes at a very warm temperature. Put the hot springs nearby where you find bad water to make it more of a juggle to deal with. But, you know, Okay, so we've got the drought coming. I'm gonna put that max priority, but paused. And then once we get down there, we're going to horribly injure ourselves by yoinking all those vines up. Because once I get the vines up, I can go in here later and just build out around from up top. But the vines, I gotta get down into the vines to deal with it. And we do have this pumping the Badwater. Let's see, they can make it, it's slightly contaminated, safe for most beavers, but only a small amount falling sick when you use it, but still some. Yeah, no, that's what I was thinking, is there would probably be a way you could kind of have it split the difference where it's not so contaminated that it is, you know, horribly dangerous, but it's contaminated enough you probably don't want to use it if you don't need to. Oh, right, you still have all those other explosives to plant. Yeah, so just leave that alone. So the downside is this is still filling. We're getting there, though. This will start spilling over here soon. So I'm going to get about a day's worth of water refilling our reservoir. And that's because we let the Badwater contamination choke up all the works. They could add some kind of boilers that you could let boil water to make it safe. Yeah, that could be it, is you could mildly contaminate the water. It'd prevent it from freezing. But then you'd have to, like, refine the water to make it drinkable as well. But you could only do it if it was mildly contaminated. If you have it, like, 80, 70, 80% contaminated, there's no amount of realistically being able to work it to make it safe. And that's the coffee. Okay, we're at least having our reservoir get some time filling back up. Alright, bear with me, chat. While this is running real fast, I need to use the restroom, so I'm gonna do that really quick, but I'm gonna leave it up on the screen so you can kind of see the beavers run around and do their beaver things. And I'll be back in just a couple minutes, and thank you again for tuning in. Okay. So we're about to have our drought pop in. And then our big goal is to rip this up. We're going to get a lot of injured beavers when this happens. The rate of injury is extremely high on this. We're also about to get our digger going there. But the moment that dips from the drought, we allow this thing. We start ripping up all those vines. Because once that happens, I can just go around and use the levees and all that to cap it off. And then it'll become an area we can fill the dirt in. And it's a nice, really long 8-day drought. So that should be more than enough time for this to completely dry out and all that stuff. Can get our own bath salts, let the beavers relax, crank it up, and get your bubble bath. This also be one that for later on when I need more metal. I'll just go out there. I'd like you to start pumping if you don't mind. And if you do mind, I'd like you to start pumping. Oh, right. We can start building the real big ones. Start decommissioning these smaller ones. For science, it's a bot part factory, bot assembler, charging station, control tower, grease factory. I've never done that much with the bots. It's always been one of those ones I kind of snoozed on. Okay, so you've got that all built. No more projects up there. That project's going here. Badwater is just a potion. And potions are soup. Yep, potions are soup. Zero question about that one. People soup? Yep. That it is. Broth of people. I really need to get that going. Are we all the way back to tacoism again? Of course. That's what happens. You log on Twitch, and that's just where it goes. Water is wet, and Twitch is going to talk about cannibalism. Alright, so you run that pump as fast as you can. Okay, so these are going to be the absolute highest priority the moment that goes dry enough. Like, Wikipedia entries always go to philosophy, Twitch goes to tacoism. Yep. Meanwhile, we are going to empty these two smaller containers. Just all the builders and people have nothing better to do. Immediately beeline and just dump all of that over there. Alright. And evolution goes to crab. Yup. I didn't realize the last time how much the pump had played into getting this drained faster. Alright. Yeah, so what I might end up doing is using the using a sluice here and then having like the one tile deep in the dynamite and just using that to drain it. It's almost about to dry. But yeah. Goofed on it, this one. I anticipate going much, much lower, much faster. It should go dry anytime now. We still got 3 days left, so we might be able to get done. Yeah, no, I probably need to get more of that all going on. If it would have taken the time to build that in advance, it would have been in a better shape. I just didn't do it. And I missed that that was backed up. Well, we might be taking a bath. In the worst kind of way. What are you gonna be? I'll tell you to be raw eggplant. We don't have raw eggplant yet. But I'll tell you it's gonna be raw eggplant. We might have our beavers taking a rough swim. Oh, I'm probably just gonna cut them loose and just let happen what happens. We've not lost any beavers to anything but old age so far, but that can change. You should have... Oh, they didn't... I see, they couldn't get to it. That's fine, we can fix this. It's done? And so you all might be bathing in some bad water, and we'll just see how it goes. Please build those stairs right now. Okay, get to tearing it up. You got half a day, and by that I mean you're doing it. Here's your motivation. If you don't get it done by the time the pollution sets in, you're still doing it. It will be done. There is gonna be some beavers bathing in the pollution tonight. And a new wellness score. That is gonna be an interesting... And another new wellness score. That is gonna be a some unfortunate timing that the beavers will be the healthiest they've ever been immediately before the opposite of that. Survive 20 cycles on one map. Get to work, get to work. Beavers are becoming unwell. So far only 3 are unwell. 4 are unwell. Five are unwell. Still only 5. Oh, come on. It's 100%. It says it right there. So I've got 8 injured beavers and 5 sick beavers. I didn't check on how this is doing. Yeah, we're gonna have to deal with that. Can you cure them yet? Yeah, no, I've got 2 of the pods to cure them, so I probably don't have enough pods to cure them. But I do have pods to treat them. Okay, so let that sit. Okay, so with that, they've taken care of it. So yoink up this path. Because now I don't have to do this the dangerous way. Now I can go over here, and then the plan is surround that by levees. And as I mentioned earlier, I actually want to make sure I have at least one spot. You know what? I changed my mind. We'll leave it like that, because I can go over here and get Badwater. If I need it that bad, it is a resolvable thing. Alright. And then for the time being, we'll just make a little area we can walk over the top. And then with that, we can have that corked. Oop, and I do see that the dynamite stuff is done, so... Alright, and that squares off the entirety of the reservoir. Now the reservoir, it is all uniform. And now we're just waiting for more supplies to come in. Destroy that, and then we can smash this open. I'm also going to want to add more places we can get more stuff going on there. Did you not? Oh, I see the issue. I see the issue. I need to... That's gonna be a problem. We could make this work. So instead, we're gonna go here and pull this up. You are now going to be a platform. And work on that. Then get the mechanical power to start doing all that. And get that all capped off. Okay, so we got them slowly getting their contamination treated. It was between that, the injuries and the contamination. None have died from any of that yet. So then we can get that machine going. Right, and you're working on getting that all handled. We'll definitely need a route for the contaminated water to get out of here, so this stops escalating. Boom time? Yep. Boom time. Alright, so that'll help a little bit up here. By giving a little bit more throughput on this area. Should help mitigate a little bit on that. The other way I can also solve this is I've got that cap down there. There's still more thorn brambles down there. I can pull those up and I can just circle that around. And again, just have another spot that's capped. Oh, I was saying there where it said building needs deeper water and looking at this being like, what? That's not what I wanted. Alright, so you're gonna have to do this. This is not gonna work the way I've got it. We can make this work otherwise. So what we're gonna do is we're going to go here and forget all this stuff. All this, don't worry about it. New plan. So you're gonna put the levees back here, block the water from flowing in here and blocking this machine up. Now we could do over here. I actually don't know where I need to put the mechanical power in here. It might not matter. Okay, so what we could do here, let's put it right there. And bring it around this way. Because I bring it the whole way around, I can have it safely behind all the levees. And then tuck it under this spot. Actually, for this matter, you can go ahead and put it there, and it'll just need to be connected here after we get the rest of that done. Alright. So I've got so many projects. Buildings do not have materials. Yeah, that's all the dirt stuff. Alright, so you're done here. We knew this was coming for a while. That day has arrived. But I do have another one up over here that's set up and working. Again, pretty close to getting this thing capped off. And then once the polluted water evaporates away or whatever, we can move that over. I got plenty of places I can get the bad water if I really need that. Because now I just move over to one of the other pools of bad water. Get this done, get capped off. Because we end up needing less and less and less of the bad water as time goes on. Alright, so a lot of the beavers are getting over their injuries. I haven't seen any die yet from their injuries. The contaminated, they're still pretty high. I do have the treatment stuff. But yeah. Alright, Lexer, you take it easy. Why don't you route the water straight right? And dam off the Badwater? Why don't you route the water straight right? And then dam off the Badwater. Route... Oh, you mean through here. Yeah. I can probably do that. Thank you for the follow. Welcome to the stream. Yeah, no, I could definitely do that. Honestly, at this stage. Just tunnel on through. Dump it in that area. The other option is you just close that thing. Which I think what I'm going to just go ahead and do. Because then I can potentially do stuff like make this area deeper to have more storage. Okay, so we're going to go here and yoink, yoink, and yoink. But they'll just do that. And we can cap it off and not deal with it. Yeah, so this is all capped off now, so this should go dry. And then I can start filling it in with dirt and all that. Potentially put, well, actually, not even that. We can leave it open like that, but we can let that cap off when this goes dry, remove the levees, the fresh water goes in here, this all becomes growable space. So we've got that. You're still working on here to make it so this will start filling up as another reservoir. And then up farther we can make another reservoir, and you get the idea. And then I make the decisions, do I like knock down this ledge here to make this more farmland? You know, because this terrain is not useful. All that kind of stuff. That's honestly probably something I should do. Yeah, so let's plan to do that. So I can go up here. So you get the 2 tiles deep dynamite. You get the 1 tiles deep dynamite. Oh, I see, yeah. So I'll have to temporarily do that. And I can go and deal with that later. Yeah, we're getting all that done. Almost all of her injuries are fully recovered from now. Okay, now we can go here and remove this tile. If this still ends up being a problem, then I make it go up and over and around. But my hope is that this got flooded earlier, and I assume that the back part of this building blocks water from going through it, because it does look completely solid. If not, well, then we'll figure it out. Yeah, so you're working on that spot. The next place we'd probably be looking at... So be making the water level this height. It can't go lower than there. Yeah, I can figure that out. Another thing we can potentially start doing is start going to some of these areas that are all sorts of gross water. Start limiting where the gross water can go entirely, exactly like I'm doing here. And then just give us more and more map to work with. So you're full up. And the reason this isn't draining, I've told it to not overfill this at all. So it does prevent anything downstream from being filled. I'm not worried about that yet. That's where you see that turning on and off constantly. But later on, if I go and I start setting up more reservoir area down here, then I could set this to be sluices as well, that they'll check the depth. And you get the idea. Alright. So I can put away all that bad water. And you're slowly running dry. You're dropping off all the explosives. Yeah, it's weird that that's always talking about bad water being a problem. Even with all the pumps down here, it's fine. Let's see. So we still have more things we could be producing food-wise. I've been holding off because these are already pretty heavily taxed. That adding more will just shut it down, and the whole plan is to get this set up. Just to see if we can't get this water level to go down and deal with it. Because I wish I knew if this water was passing through that building. At this point, the rest of this is all levees the whole way around until you get back here, so it should be evaporating down. But it's real hard to tell. Okay, so we've gotten to the point where it's spilling over now. We want to get that capped off because now we can raise the water level. Here we got drought approaching. And I still haven't seen it mention anyone dying of an injury or contamination. Now granted, I'd expect these ones to potentially be soon. But I think they're ultimately like taking turns decontaminating and it's keeping them alive. Oh good, we have coffee. The coffee is actually in production, so we got our big old vat of coffee. Yeah, so no one's gone down there to work on that yet. Because they're working on this. Your singular cup of coffee. Yeah, no, it's just... It is a deity-sized cup of coffee. They got confused and they bolted it down to the ground, which isn't really what we were looking for, but you know. They're beavers. Alright. This will be a good place for getting more stuff going farming-wise. Oh, the other thing we could work on in the meantime. Let's go here. Get rid of those. We got plenty of beds for right now. Science-wise. So the monuments, the next one is at 12,000. I'm tempted to just save for it right now. Yeah, and that's just drying out while we wait. And then all this grass should stop being all blistery looking. Maybe the water can go through this tile? I wish it was clear that this is like, hey, this is permeable, not permeable, or whatever. That's what I think is happening, is I think the water is getting through there. But I can't tell. Like, the way I would tell is I'd look here and see if the depth is any different. Because if it's different, we know it's evaporating away. Alright, let's go ahead and plan for sealing this off completely. So we grab these out of here. Now we're going to need to go here. Wellness 29. Nice. We can do a vertical power shaft. It costs almost nothing. Actually, let's have it just go over top. We're gonna do this whole nonsense. Let's do it the full way with the nonsense. So I assume, okay, that does connect. Oh, I just realized I didn't get rid of the platform there. That's part of the point. We can take you all out. Then you become a levee. With this being a levee now, that'll seal that whole side off. Okay, and then we can go here. That's not an efficient way of setting that up. Alright, so we're up to 29 wellness. We have so much more we could still do for things like decorations and all that. Alright. You know, a lot of beavers are about to get injured. We get the last of that out of there. But later on I can fill this all in with dirt. Make this usable. Or sorry, not fill it in with dirt, fill it in with water. But still, we'll want to fill it in with water and probably not make the whole thing water. I'll probably make paths through it. It's just a project. That's what you tend to do as the game comes on. You just come up with new projects to make the map, you know, quote-unquote better. Also interesting me. You still haven't done that. Not too worried about, though. Make that a little higher priority just to let this start drying. And so you got the decorative roofs build over here. We do have more decorations we can build. So there are lanterns, there are beaver busts, there's the bell, there's the clock. Go ahead and get the clock and chuck it someplace. Not a bad place for the clock. It's not a great place for the clock. We can put the clock there. There you go. You can put a clock there. You can put the bell there. You put the beaver there. That's the spot where almost everyone passes. Put the bust here. We put the brazier there. So I got a whole bunch of decorations right on this main road that almost everyone goes by. That should boost the wellness up a lot, because each of those count as their own thing. So we should see that really, really climb the wellness. You can boost pulling those up while it's in drought, because then it's going to get full of... Oh, right, that's what you're waiting on. It's fine. That's a project that we'll want to get done, but it's not urgent. Okay, no one else is contaminated. They're starting to work at getting all those thorn bushes pulled up, so there's going to be a lot of injuries. Okay, so this should dry out, because now it's fully enclosed. And that's just a matter of getting the mechanical power over there. And meanwhile, we got you set up. That's the last of our breeding pod things. Which is going to massively spike our population. Because by skipping being children entirely, it just means we can get more beavers up and running faster. It means they work longer. You've got all that going. Okay, they got most of the way on that first bush, because then I can do the same thing where we cap that off. And then we won't have to worry about the polluted water up there. And you're about to be finished as well. Which won't matter until after the drought. But that'll make this into a pretty large reservoir. It'll go it'll make all of this deeper by about 2 tiles. Alright, when the drought's over, we're going to open that up. And then this whole area will be usable. Alright, doing explosives. I still got tons of them. Can't get rid of the Badwater pump? You're right. I can get rid of the Badwater pump. So where's the next place I want to put a Badwater pump? So down here usually holds Badwater long term. Let's cancel where it's filling all this in. That'll be like a nice eventually goal, but I feel like there's other things I can work on in the meantime. Because, yeah, this area tends to hold the Badwater pretty perpetually, so this is not a bad place to get another Badwater pump set up. Okay. They don't need that much Badwater that often. something to work on as able. Cool. So we got a ton of injuries, but this is done. So just like we did with the other one. We can go there and cap it off. And that'll be that sorted. Alright, and that'll be another thing done. We're about to finish this off over here. They get one last round of Badwater out of this thing. That's okay. But then that's handled. You almost have all your stuff planted and ready to knock this whole thing down to make it into more farmland. And one thing we'll do is, instead of having the snake and wind as much, is I'll probably start squaring it off. Make it better for if it's an area that I'm going to allow to flow water wheels. Or at least be able to get more of the edges to it. Because like right now, you know, if I were to bring this over then cut it that way, I could use all the space on both sides versus this is kind of an awkward position because of everything being based on boxes. Yeah, so getting the Badwater out. Alright, and that's all set up. So now when it goes to fill up, it'll fill this whole area up. And it's just another reservoir. And where it goes, like how high it goes before it starts spilling over, these are way lower. So that could drain pretty low before, you know, that goes there. So that should keep this area pretty well filled. That will have a pretty ridiculous length of drought before this starts to dry out. Those are more projects to do. Right, so you got this all going. You're getting the powertrain set up here. And this, in any time now, you can see that this is getting really low compared to that. So anytime now we should see this kick back on. And then hopefully that we can finally start drilling. Which will start giving us dirt. And then having the dirt in place, we'll be able to start filling in random boxes that are just, you know, all the jaggy terrain. We'll start leveling it out, making into farmland, whatever we need. So stuff like what I could do here is, in this big area, I can start filling this in with dirt the whole way through, make like a canal that goes through here. Just off of that, just like a super deep canal that just cuts through the middle of all this. Makes that into as much farmland as you could possibly desire. Yeah, so we did get just a little bit of Badwater here. Hey! 30 wellness. And I got an achievement for reaching an average wellness of 30. Alright, there's 31 wellness. Are you finishing all the art? Is that what's going on? That's what's going on. So everyone cutting by there is going to start getting a boost to their wellness. We look over here, we have all these statues and all that. So we still have the shrub and the lantern that we could put. So what we'll go ahead and do is yoink those. There's 33. Well, 32, 33. Here's the shrub. And the lantern. So we'll put the lantern there. And the shrub. Alright, so we're up to 33 wellness. I actually don't know what the cap is here. Yeah, so, I mean, it's much higher considering I'm seeing ones I mentioned 47 and 52 and all that. But yeah, the point is, all of those buffs will make them faster and work harder and all that stuff, so jumping almost 10 wellness since we started stream Well, since we started our segment on Timberborn, I should say, not since we started stream. Because we were like 22, 23 or something like that. Let that out, because this will be the last time I need to contaminate the rest of my water supply. After this point, we're going to have that boxed off, and I won't have to worry about it anymore. Alright, and it's clearly working, the drill, because I do see that I've got dirt. We're at 34%. Yep, so we are drilling a big ol' hole. So, now that this is all sorted out, you got the water coming in? Cool. Okay. This is gone. And with that, all of this just became farmland. And this is ready to detonate. And then we can go here, and a tiny little boom in that corner. We finally achieved the highest of technologies. Dirt. Yep. Okay, so got all this going. Alright, so we're getting all the dirt in, so then the big question comes in. What am I filling in and where? I'm feeling like we want to fill this area in first and just like slowly work our way out. 35 wellness. So, the next thing we can work on here is let's get a pair of farms going. Because what I can do is I'm missing one crop. It is the only crop I'm not already growing, which is eggplant. Oh, this covers this whole place. I'm not gonna need nearly this much eggplant, but you know. Might as well. And you harvest the other one plants. Then I can go over here. Because then I can go over to this side, and what trees have we not done yet? So trees. We've got the oak, we got that, we've got the pine, we've got the birch, coffee, blue. I've done them all. That said, we could use more mangrove. That said, this is still showing us contaminated because of that little spot of water. I can probably go and put the thing that prevents it from being contaminated around it. I might even do that. And then once we do that, I can make this another mangrove area. Meanwhile, I don't know what a lot of the limitations are with this. Gotcha, so that's too far from the district there. That's not. So let's see if they work on that, because then I can try and like slowly expand this out to give me more green ground and everything. Because whenever they're over here, we'll see that drill. Can you dirt fill that underground hole that goes under your base? Probably. Yeah, this area. I might have to do some finagling to get down to it. Yeah, I probably could fill all that in. I'd probably want to start on this end, because the water source isn't up here, it's down there. So what I probably could do is see about filling this up from this end. And then once we've got like this part of it filled, An artificial construction order follows the arrows on top. So you can see we can cork that off. And then with that corked off, this will go dry. And then we can worry about like just putting a top over it or something. Oh, and you are ready. And now we've got ourselves another completely viable area for whatever green stuff we decide to put on it. So we look at any of these and go, I need more, insert name of food. We've got that. So another thing we can also add while we're sitting here is we can go food, hydroponic, and switch you to algae. And I'll probably need 2 of those. Switch you to algae. You're out of logs? Oh yeah, you know what? We can just make this another place for oak trees. If I put a forestry here, can it reach the whole area? Not quite. To reach the whole area, but around there. Now you can put some woodcutters over here. And they'll say trees and oak. Alright, and that'll be even more of a grow area. Okay, we officially hit the point where this is starting to top off. Which is really good news. We're getting the Badwater capped off over there. So I'll massively expand a lot of this stuff. You're down here drilling as able. Yeah, it says it can reach those, so... Alright, so with that, you're waiting on horn rations. You are massively overwhelmed. You've got capacity. This isn't going to be an efficient way of doing it. So we can go over here and add 2 of our food processors over here. Because I don't really care if the drill goes fast. Then you can do the eggplant and you can do the algae. I believe that would give us every single food group. Now it does mean we got the eggplant there. So then this would be the cooked eggplant, the raw algae, the cooked algae. This would be the best way for me to get over here on the second floor without running the whole way over and back. I can move the clock to the other side and just make the walkway right there. So clock's gone. And then clock's back. Let's make a platform that goes right down the middle here. Alright. And that'll be all that stuff. So then we need you to do raw algae, cooked eggplant, and cooked algae. And I believe that's everything in the game. So we got all 9 of those. We got all of those. The only thing we haven't done is the robots. I don't have the robots made, but everything else, food-wise, material-wise, we are producing. Now, some of them we need to increase the production rate, but we are producing them. Yep, so that's good. You've got this all boxed off. So that's good. And you're still filling up. Watching for any paths you're just bleeding water out of. Not seeing any, though. Alright, we got drought approaching. Now, I'm feeling pretty good off when it comes to droughts. The amount of time we could go with a drought and not have a single thing I need to do to deal with it is going to be extremely long now. So this is the height we've got. So that's all fine. That is the same height. This might be one... No, actually, a couple tiles shorter there. We could probably do... We could probably go up here. Put another lock up here. Let's figure out what the depths are. Okay, so that's anything I don't see here. I don't have to worry about it flooding out because that means it's higher. All right. So from there we would need paths. Okay. In the meantime, we're going to have to go over there. So 3, 2, 1. Stairs. And then we can go and drop this flat area down here. Work on all that. Need to continue those paths? Continue them where? Oh, I see. I see, yep. I missed that spot. Yep. Alright, so that would get all of those, and that would give me another lock here to have even more water reserved. This is continuing to build up. Yeah, that's... Oh, that does remind me. I need to set you... There. Alright, so we got all that going on. That'll be good. And eventually we'll want to go downstream as well. But as you can see, I'm just opening up so much space upstream. We'll want to do lots of changes to this area over time. Ah, good. So they filled in the dirt there. That's what I was hoping would work. Now the catch is, I need them to go down here and yoink all these trees. Because unfortunately, I cannot deal with the trees from up top. Then go here, do that. So while we have this 5-day drought, I'm going to try to go and get these trees out of the way and have them fill in, like, just basically get rid of the trees so we can start filling this in. And just take it however far I can go and still have viable soil off of this existing reservoir. It can just be one of those things that we just gradually take over more and more of the map. And like where I've got this right now, eventually what I'll do is I'll probably have a canal go through here. Or whichever way it goes. As opposed to dealing with it how we've been dealing with it right now. Alright, so once we got those out of the way, I need this path or they won't go down there. Alright, because then we can pull that up, and then that'll be the next section. But yeah, so you can see how it just... We went from trapped in this little pocket here, beginning to sprawl more and more as we got the water managed better and better. Like, and this feels like an area that has no reason to not be filled in. So that's the kind of thing we're going to be working on, just randomly filling in. You know, if we got little pockets like this, fill them in. They don't do anything to help us. Okay, so we got that done. So pull this all up. Because then what we can do is go like this. Alright. So that's a big project, but what would eventually happen is they would fill this in, we'd have this whole big area here. That's kind of pushing the bad water out farther. Like I said, at some point I'd need to put like a canal going out here to make all of it growable and all that. You don't really need to, you could continue just to expand, but a big part of Timberborn is just kind of expanding and doing more and more because you can. With that said, though, chat, it is getting to be that time that I need to be wrapping up for the evening. So I've had a lot of fun today. We did a bunch of the last Starship and basically finished off the main story of the game, which was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. Jump back into our Timberborn save that we started yesterday. We basically got this whole area for the most part sorted out. And now we're starting to use our drill to expand and all that. So I don't know how much more I'm going to be going on this save, because Timberborn is one of those games that as you get later and later, the projects get bigger and bigger and bigger and take longer and longer and longer to happen, which is cool to play, but sometimes watching an area like filling this in can take a number of hours, even fast forwarding, which, you know. So I might be checking out some other games on the channel here in the next couple days. We'll see what I feel like. I could see more Timberborn. I could see doing something else. I think we're probably done with Last Starship for right now. We'll figure it out when we get there. But that said, thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't already followed the channel and you've enjoyed the content, don't forget to drop your follow. That way you can find your way back here in the future. But with that said, if you're watching over on YouTube, the stream will be ending abruptly for you because I do not have a host ready over on the YouTube side, so don't forget to like and subscribe. But for everyone over here on Twitch, I am going to go ahead and put up my ending stream screen and see who we can find to drop a raid on. I'm also getting kind of tired, which